Hey guys, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today we're actually going to be talking about the upcoming election because there is actually some big news coming out of the US government that I think is really interesting and indicative of where we are in terms of election security and capability. Now, this reporting comes from Sue Halpern of The New Yorker, and I found it absolutely fascinating. I've got some notes here. Now, first we're going to start with the Help America Vote Act of 2002, or HAVA. Now, HAVA was put in place after the 2000 election, where we saw a lot of issues with voting irregularities in terms of hanging chads, vote tabulations, and all of that. If you were old enough to remember the whole George W. Bush versus Al Gore in Florida thing, this is what this stems from. Now, within HAVA is the Election Assistance Commission, and this is a small, pretty obscure group, but here's the thing. HAVA allocated, and I've got notes, HAVA allocated over $3 billion to the states within the United States to upgrade their election systems and authorize the EAC, the Election Assistance Commission, to distribute this money. Now, the EAC also is also mandated to advise election officials and oversee testing and certification of voting tabulation machines. Now, we are about 17 months or so away from the next presidential election, and the EAC is the one that basically runs the budget and is overseeing the ability to test and certify these machines as safe and secure. And unfortunately, we're really not there. Now, Senator Ron Wyden, according to the reporting, he is the senator from Oregon who sits on the Intelligence Committee, predicts, and I've got notes here, that the 2020 election will make what happened in 2016 look like small potatoes. And I quote Senator Wyden. It's not just the Russians. There are hostile foreign actors who are messing with 200 years worth of really precious history. Now, Wyden recently introduced what's called the PAVE Act, and this is basically a list of election security provisions, but unfortunately it failed to get through the Senate in 2018. Now, the PAVE Act includes things like the use of hand-marked ballots and is a prohibition on wireless modems and other kinds of internet connectivity as it relates to voting machines, and basically pretty much anybody in cybersecurity and data security is advocating this because if the voting machines are connected to the internet, we have a potential problem for hacking, especially if they're unsecure. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can't, let's say, encrypt these things, but if the application of the encryption is incorrect, then there's a possibility that the encryption may be bypassed, as we've seen before. So with this is basically being quashed. Now, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, has basically gone ahead and said that he will not advance any election security legislation, including the PAVE Act, and also other election security bills, which may have bipartisan support. And a lot of these bills do. This is not pointing out, a Democrat or Republican issue, the liberal or the conservative side if you're not in America. This is basically just talking about election security. And one of the things that the United States has historically been excellent at, and a lot of let's say fledgling democracies have looked towards, is what is generally considered a safe and fair election in the United States, that we are electing, we are electing a leader that basically has not been able to change the vote. Not saying that any president has, but rather an outside influence would have the ability to do that. We are basically securing this, and the vote is honest. And if we're not able to do that, I think that's a very, very serious issue here. I've written articles on this, including for Forbes, on basically how foreign governments, in this case Russia was one of my articles, how they influence not just the United States, but how they have spent money, how they have hacked into various countries around Europe and the world in order to influence and sway politics. And so I think it behooves any government, not just the United States, I don't care what country you're in, to ensure that if you have some kind of democratic election process, that election process is in fact secured and the vote is accurate. And so as we see legislation coming up for bills that could, let's say, enhance the security, and we have less than 2 years to the election, which means we still have time to put in a lot of measures, providing we move now, to have it blocked at a very senior level in the government is very telling on the issues that we have here. If we're willing to spend on a whole bunch of other stuff, basically a drop in the bucket in order to secure our election. So I think that's a very serious issue that we need to to talk about, but I was very disappointed to see that the PAVE Act is not going to go anywhere, which is primarily why I am talking about this. But I wanted to give you the backstory of this because we've had some issues with our elections, not necessarily malfeasance, but definitely problems with voter security. And when we are seeing news articles in the last year of 11-year-old kids at hacker conferences breaking into voting machines, I think we've got a problem, and I think we need to move on that sooner than later. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think it's a very important topic for us to, for us to dive into, and that is your news of the day. And also, if you happen to be in Nashville at the conference that I'm going to be attending shortly, come say hi. I'd love to meet you or hang out or catch up with you if I know you already. So that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.